I've been thinking about something that most guys get completely wrong when it comes to staying in someone's mind. And honestly, it's kind of sad because the solution is so much simpler than what they're doing right now. Most men walk around convinced that the secret is to talk more, to send more texts, to basically just push harder than they're currently pushing. They've got this image in their head where if they just say the right words enough times, eventually she's going to start thinking about them the same way they think about her. But here's what I've learned, and I think you'll recognize this in your own life too. The men that women actually remember, they're usually not the ones grinding the hardest. They're not the ones constantly trying to be the center of everything or pushing to make something happen. Instead, they're the ones who said something small, something simple, and something that came completely out of nowhere. Something that stuck with her long after the conversation ended and they both moved on to their days. Think about this for a second. Have you ever had a moment where someone said just a few words to you? Nothing earth-shattering, really. But for some reason, those words just planted themselves in your mind? You couldn't really explain why it happened, but the thought kept coming back. It would pop into your head when you were doing something else, replay quietly when everything around you went silent, and it just wouldn't leave. That doesn't happen by accident. That's actually how our brains are designed to work. We don't remember how hard someone tried. We remember how they made us feel. We remember the impact they had on us, not the effort they put in. And when it comes to that feeling of real attraction, impact doesn't come from talking more or trying to take up more space in someone's life. It comes from saying something that actually creates a feeling, something that resonates deeper than just the surface level. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. A woman doesn't sit there thinking about every single message you ever sent her. She remembers how you made her feel in that specific moment. That's what stays with her. That's what lingers when she's alone at night. That's what pulls her back to thinking about you, even when you're not right there in front of her. And once you really understand this, everything changes about how you communicate with people. You stop trying so hard to impress everyone. You stop overthinking every single word that comes out of your mouth. You start creating these little moments that actually stay in someone's mind for real. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There are certain ways of speaking that trigger this feeling naturally. It's not because they're complicated or because they sound perfect. It's because they connect with something much deeper than just logic or facts. They don't just sound good to your ears, they feel different to your soul. And once you understand this, the way you talk to people begins to change for the better. You become someone people think about. You become someone who stands out. But the question is, where are you listening from right now? What part of the world are you in? I'd love to know because it's amazing to see how these ideas reach people everywhere, how people from completely different places experience these same feelings in their own unique ways. So if most men are trying really hard and still being forgotten, then the real question we have to ask ourselves is simple. What are they doing wrong? If you really pay attention to how most men try to make someone like them, you start to see a pattern emerge. They believe that more effort automatically equals more interest. So what do? They send more messages. They explain themselves way more than they need to. They try harder to be funny, to be interesting, to be impressive. On the surface, this seems logical, right? If you want someone to think about you more, you should give them more of yourself. You should be more present. You should communicate more. But in the real world, the opposite thing usually happens. The more you try to force someone to pay attention to you, the less actual impact you have. This is because attraction doesn't grow from how much you work. It grows from how something makes another person feel deep down inside. Think about it this way. If a woman gets 10 messages from you in a single day, what actually happens? At first, maybe she's happy to reply. You made her day a little brighter. But then she gets used to it. Then it becomes normal. She starts expecting it. Eventually, it becomes completely predictable. And here's the part most people miss. Once something becomes predictable, your brain just stops paying attention to it. It's like background noise. The human mind isn't built to remember everything. It's more like a filter that throws out what feels routine and only focuses on what feels different, what stands out. So when your communication becomes constant and safe and expected, you slowly start to fade into the background. It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because you don't care enough. It's because there's nothing exciting for her mind to actually hold on to anymore. Most men mix up getting attention with creating attraction. Just because she sends you a reply doesn't mean she's thinking about you later that night. Just because a conversation continues doesn't mean it left any mark on her heart. You can talk to someone all day long and still be someone they forget easily. This is because without emotional weight, without something that makes you feel, words just pass right through. They don't stick. This is why trying harder often works against you. Those long messages trying to explain yourself, constantly checking in, always being available. These things don't build mystery. They actually destroy it. They don't make someone curious. They answer everything way too fast. There's nothing left for her to wonder about. There's no space for curiosity. And when there's no curiosity, there's nothing for her mind to go back to later when she's alone. Attraction needs space. It needs room to breathe. It needs moments that feel slightly unfinished, slightly different from everything else she experiences in her busy day. That's what makes her pause later and wonder why that particular moment stayed with her. So the real problem isn't that men don't care. It's that they're trying to create a real connection using hard work and effort instead of understanding how our memories actually function, how our brains decide what's worth keeping and what's worth forgetting. Once you see how memory and feelings work together, you realize something really powerful. It's not about saying more. It's about saying something that actually stays. Think about the people you remember. Think about the conversations that stuck with you. Were they the longest ones? Were they from the people who talked the most? Or were they from someone who said something that just hit different, something that made you feel something? To understand why some words stay while others just disappear, you have to understand how your brain actually works. Your brain isn't like a tape recorder that saves every word exactly as it happened. It's a filter. It keeps what feels important and lets go of what feels ordinary and boring. So what makes something important? It's the feeling attached to it. Your brain is built to remember things that make you feel something. And I don't just mean happy. I mean anything that stands out. Curiosity, surprise, even confusion. That's what gets saved. That's what gets replayed in your head when you're alone. Think about your own life right now. You probably don't remember most of the conversations you had last week, but there are certain moments or phrases that stuck with you. They weren't long, they weren't complicated, but they made you feel something. Experts call this emotional imprinting. When something makes you feel a certain way, your brain marks it as a big deal. It gives it meaning. Because of that, it becomes easy to remember later without even trying. The moment replays in your mind. Now imagine this in terms of attraction. If what you say doesn't create any feeling in her, it's just background noise. She might talk back in the moment because she's being nice or polite, but her mind has nothing to return to later. It doesn't have anything to grab onto. But if what you say makes her feel curious or surprised or different, her brain holds onto it tight. And here's the secret nobody talks about. The brain doesn't just remember those moments. It visits them again and again. It replays them. It's like a song that gets stuck in your head. That's why some things keep coming back into your mind when you're alone. That replay is what builds real attraction over time. It's not the endless texting. It's not being available all the time. It's that one moment that stays alive after you're gone. This is why someone can say very little, but still be impossible to forget. What they said had weight. It created a reaction inside. It meant something. Once that happens, the brain keeps going back to it, trying to understand it, trying to feel it again. That's the difference between being someone she talks to and being someone she thinks about. That's the difference that matters. When you focus on impact instead of just talking, everything changes. You stop trying to fill up every quiet moment with more words. You stop trying to be perfect. You realize that a few good words can do more than 100 boring ones. You become comfortable with silence, and that's when things get real. One of the biggest reasons men are forgotten is because they stay too safe. They say safe things and ask safe questions. How are you? How was your day? There's nothing wrong with being polite, but these words don't create a feeling. Without a feeling, there's no memory. Think about how many times a woman hears those same questions from everyone else. They all sound the same, so her brain ignores them. It's not that the words are bad. They're just predictable. The mind filters out what it's seen 1,000 times before. Safe talk makes you invisible. You're not standing out. You're blending in with everyone else trying to get her attention. Most men think being nice is enough. And being nice is nice. It's comfortable. It's easy. But comfortable is forgettable. There's a huge gap between someone who's easy to talk to and someone who leaves a mark on your heart. Comfort fades. Impact stays. Safe talk rarely creates impact because it doesn't challenge the mind. It doesn't spark an image or a feeling. It just exists and then it's gone. Your brain needs something to grab onto, something a little bit different from the norm. Without that, the conversation is just another one in a long list of conversations. You can be there all the time. You can be polite. You can follow all the rules. But you'll still be forgotten because attraction is built on things that feel different from the rest of someone's day. So instead of asking if you're saying the right thing, ask yourself if you're creating a feeling. If you're not, it won't stay. It's not about being louder or more frequent. It's about breaking the ordinary. What makes something stick in someone's mind? It's emotional triggers. These are small moments that cause a reaction without the person even knowing why it happened. It's not about big drama or making a scene. It's about small shifts in curiosity or mystery. Here's something important. Your mind doesn't replay what it fully understands. It replays what feels unfinished. When something is totally clear and explained, your brain moves on. There's nothing left to think about. But when something is a little bit open-ended, when there's room for interpretation, your mind stays. It starts asking questions. What did he mean? Why am I thinking about this? What was he really saying? That's where real attraction starts. It's a quiet curiosity that keeps coming back. This is why mystery is so powerful. It's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about not explaining every little thing. When you hint at a meaning instead of spelling everything out, you leave space for her mind to fill in the blanks. Once her mind is involved, once she's thinking about what you said, she's invested. She's connected to it now. She's part of it. There's also the power of the unexpected. When you say something that breaks the usual flow of a conversation, when you say something different from what she expected, the brain wakes up. It pays attention. But here's the important part. If you try too hard to be mysterious or surprising, it feels fake. Attraction is subtle. It's built in small moments that have just enough weight to stay in someone's memory. You don't need to say more. You need to say less, but say it better. This is hard for many men because they were taught to always be present and keep conversations going. They fear silence. They fear that if they stop talking, she'll lose interest. So they fill every gap with more effort, more words, more explanations. But being there all the time actually takes away her chance to miss you. Without that, the feeling fades. If she knows you'll always be there and always reply right away, there's nothing to wonder about. There's nothing to look forward to. There's nothing to miss. And if there's nothing to miss, there's nothing to feel. Space is a powerful tool. It's not a game. It's not being cold or distant. It's giving feelings room to grow. In the silence, after a good conversation, after something meaningful, her mind keeps working. It replays the words. It feels the feelings. That's where real attraction grows. Not in the talking, not in the constant communication, but in the quiet after. Most men interrupt this. They send another text. They explain themselves. They kill the very thing that would have made her think about them all night long. The mind needs time to process. It needs space to feel. Without it, even great words lose their power. This doesn't mean being cold or aloof. It means knowing when to step back and let the moment breathe. It means having the confidence to say something and then let it sit there without needing to fix it or add to it. This is the difference between someone who talks a lot and someone who's always on her mind. It's not about frequency. It's about impact followed by space. When you combine this with the power of being different, you create something new. You create real attraction. Your brain is always looking for what's different. Anything that stands out is seen as important. Anything unusual gets flagged as something to remember. Most men follow the same patterns, so they disappear into the crowd. But when your words feel different, you become noticeable. You broke the pattern. You stood out. Novelty alone isn't enough, though. It has to have a feeling attached to it. Something unexpected that also causes an emotion is what actually sticks. An unusual statement that creates curiosity will stay longer than a long, familiar explanation. Her mind has something to work with, something to return to. You become the person who feels different from everyone else. Her mind starts linking you with that feeling of being different. You're not just another conversation. You're a shift in her day. You don't have to chase her attention because her mind is already doing that work for you. This brings us to something really important. There's actually a phrase that can start all of this. These words don't work because of how they sound, but because of what they do inside someone's mind. The goal is simple. Make her feel something and then think about it later. The phrase is, "I noticed that." They're simple words. They're not dramatic, but they're incredibly powerful. They do what most men fail to do. They make her feel seen in a personal way. Instead of a generic compliment like "you're beautiful," which she's heard 1,000 times before, you could say, "I noticed that you smile differently when you're really enjoying yourself." Feel the difference? The first one is something she's heard from everyone. The second one is personal. It shows you were really paying attention. It makes her wonder, when did he see that? What else does he notice about me? Her mind starts replaying that moment because it had real meaning. You saw her. You actually saw her. These words create a picture. They make her see herself through your eyes. People crave feeling understood on a deep level. You could say, "I noticed you think before you speak," or "I noticed you don't just follow what everyone else is doing." These are observations, not empty praise. They show effort and attention. They show you see things other people miss. When a woman feels seen like that, you become someone she remembers. You didn't try to impress her. You made her feel something rare, something real. But you have to be careful. Don't overuse this. Don't make it a script or a formula. Use it only when you truly see something. Being real is what gives these words their power. If you force it, if you're just trying to use a technique, the impact is gone. Used right, these words stay in her mind for a long time. But even something this powerful can fail if used the wrong way. Most people hear a good idea and then do it too much. They make it a habit. Then it becomes predictable. Then the brain stops caring. So here's rule 1. Don't force it. Only say it when it's true. Only speak when you actually have something to say. Rule 2 is don't explain too much. Some men say something great and meaningful and then keep talking until all the mystery is gone. They ruin it by over-explaining. When you say something meaningful, stop. Let it sit there. Let her think about it. That silence is where the attraction lives. It's where she thinks about what you said. Rule 3 is about your tone. If you sound unsure or too intense or like you're trying too hard, it won't work. You need to be calm and natural, like you're just sharing a thought that occurred to you. Confidence means saying something without needing her to react in a specific way. That's what gives the words real weight. And finally, timing is key. Drop these observations when there's already a good flow between you. It should feel like it belongs there naturally, not like something you just threw in to get a reaction. When you put together the right words, the right timing, and the right silence, you create a moment that is real. Those moments don't go away. They stay. They grow. Attraction was never about doing more or being perfect. It's about creating a moment that lasts. Most people are out there chasing attention, but attention isn't what makes people like you. Memory is what does it. We think about the people who made us feel something we didn't expect. We think about the person who said something that had weight, that had meaning. When you move from effort to impact, you stop trying to prove yourself. You create space for something real to happen. One meaningful moment can do more than hours and hours of talking. It stays in her mind when she's alone. It pulls her back to you without you doing anything else. That's real power. It's quiet and it lasts. Once you understand this, you stop chasing and you start being the person who is naturally remembered by those around you. So take this with you. Remember that it's not about the quantity of your words. It's about the quality of the feeling you leave behind in the hearts of others. Thank you for listening to this whole thing. I hope it helps you create deeper, more meaningful moments in your own life.